Fredo Bang's right-hand man, the CEO of TBG, was just gunned down in broad daylight outside a gym in Baton Rouge. Two masked men walked up on him while he was working out and fired multiple shots, killing him right there in the parking lot. His name was Wes Clark. The streets knew him as Cleles 5. And right now, the Baton Rouge Police Department is investigating possible connections to groups in Baton Rouge. And the name that keeps coming up in this city, in this beef, in this history is NBA Youngboy. This happened April 29th, 2026, and the internet is already going crazy. TBG just lost their CEO. Fredo Bang just lost one of his closest brothers. And the question that the whole culture is asking right now, who pulled up on Cleles 5? Who sent those two masked men to that gym? Because if you know the history between TBG and NBA Youngboy's camp, you already know where the fingers are pointing. Y'all need to hear this from the beginning to understand the full weight of what just happened. Let me break it down for you, fam. Wes Clark, known on the streets and in the music world as Cleles 5, age 46 at the time of his death, the CEO of TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, one of the most influential rap collectives to ever come out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And when I say CEO, I don't mean that lightly. I mean the man who built the infrastructure, the man who kept the lights on, kept the deals moving, kept the artists on track. TBG was founded by Lil Ivy Smith, but Cleles 5 was the operational backbone of that whole machine. He was the connective tissue between the music and the streets. Fredo Bang himself confirmed that in a statement to WAFB News just hours after the murder. He said, "West was one of the most genuine people you'll ever meet. He would do anything for the people he loved. He helped countless people around Baton Rouge, single mothers, promoters, and radio. Anyone who needed him, he was there. Without him, me and G Money's music, and a few more artists, would never have reached as far as it has." Let that sink in for a second. Fredo Bang is crediting this man with the success of his own career and the legacy of G Money's music. That's not just a business associate. That's a brother. That's a pillar. And he was at the gym, working out, minding his business. At 12:15 in the afternoon, in the parking lot of Gain God Fitness on Woodcrest Drive just off Greenwell Springs Road in Baton Rouge, two masked men walked up on him and fired multiple shots. They killed him right there. Then they got in a vehicle and were gone. The Baton Rouge Police Department confirmed it immediately. It was a targeted attack. The victim was out there working out. We know those two suspects walked up and fired upon the victim multiple times, killing him at the scene. This wasn't random. This was a hit, no cap, and no arrests have been made. No suspects identified publicly.
It was a targeted attack. The victim was out there working out, and as he was working out, we know those two suspects walked up and fired upon the victim multiple times, thus killing him at the scene. So we don't have much at this particular time, so we rely heavily on the community and those who know what happened or have an idea as to what happened to give us a call so we can follow up on the information that they give us.
But here's what the BRPD Public Information Officer, Lieutenant LeJean McNeely, did say. And pay close attention to this. "We see and feel that there is some association involving certain groups here in Baton Rouge, but it's nothing we can openly say at this time because it is an ongoing investigation."
We see and feel that there's some association involving certain groups here in Baton Rouge, but it's nothing that we can openly say at this particular time because it is an ongoing investigation.
Certain groups in Baton Rouge. You know what groups have been at war in this city for the better part of a decade? TBG and NBA Youngboy's camp. And we're gonna connect every single dot right now. To understand how we got here, we need to go all the way back to 2017 because this beef didn't start with a diss track or a sub on Instagram. It started personal. It started in the streets of Baton Rouge where these nunamas grew up. NBA Youngboy, real name Kentrell Deshaun Gaulden, founded the Never Broke Again collective, also known as NBA. On the other side of Baton Rouge, you had TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, which included Fredo Bang, G Money, Lit Yoshi, and others. These weren't just rival rap groups. Investigators and law enforcement would later officially describe them as rival gangs. Now G Money, real name Garrett Burton, was the crown jewel of TBG before he was killed. This man had undeniable talent. He had tracks like Jack Who with Fredo Bang, The Purge, and most notoriously, a diss track called Another Op, which was a direct aggressive shot aimed straight at NBA Youngboy. But here's the backstory that a lot of people don't know. The origins of this beef trace back to something deeply personal. It's widely reported that Fredo Bang, who is G Money's cousin, was involved with NBA Youngboy's sister. That personal disrespect lit the match on what became a years-long war that would claim multiple lives. The diss tracks escalated, the social media back and forth escalated, and then on September 10th, 2017, it stopped being about music. G Money, 22 years old, was shot and killed in a parking lot in Baton Rouge. Just like that. Gone. Here's where it gets crazy.
Baton Rouge police are looking into a deadly shooting that claimed the life of a local rapper. Police say someone shot and killed 22-year-old Garrett Burton on Dallas Street around 1:20 last night. Burton performed under the name G Money. Right now, police have not named any suspects or motive. If you can help police or have any tips, you can report them anonymously to Crime Stoppers. That number 344-STOP. And remember, your tip could lead to a cash reward.
Baton Rouge police investigated the murder and arrested a man named DeAndre DeMarcus Fields, an associate linked to NBA Youngboy's camp.
A lot of you are reacting tonight to the arrest of this man, DeAndre Fields. Baton Rouge police say they arrested him years after the shooting death of a local rapper, Garrett Burton. Back in 2017, Burton went by the name of G Money. He was found shot to death in the parking lot on Dallas Drive there. Police arrested DeAndre Fields for second-degree murder.
Fields was charged with second-degree murder, but after a trial, Fields was acquitted. The case is officially unsolved. Officially, the murder of G Money remains an open case, but the streets knew, TBG knew, and the war between these two camps went from hot to nuclear the moment that verdict came back. This is the foundation. Remember G Money's name, because everything that happens from 2017 forward, every shooting, every arrest, every body, is downstream from that parking lot in 2017. Now, after G Money's death, Fredo Bang became the face of TBG, and the beef got personal for him in a whole new way. His cousin was dead, his crew was in the crosshairs, and he wasn't about to lay down. The war between TBG and NBA played out on multiple fronts simultaneously: music, social media, and the streets. And Fredo Bang, to his credit, kept his name in the music while the streets stayed hot. But around 2020, the beef took a whole different twist. Fredo Bang made comments publicly referring to NBA Youngboy as his son, in a celebratory, clout-chasing kind of way. Youngboy was not amused. What started as a little trolling became a years-long back and forth that sucked in everyone around both of them. Fredo even claimed he had relations with Youngboy's baby mama Janya, and reportedly posted receipts. You know Youngboy wasn't just gonna take that lying down. The disrespect went stratospheric. Fans on both sides were going crazy. And behind the scenes, the street activity between these two camps was intensifying in ways the internet wasn't fully aware of. But here's what really happened behind closed doors that y'all need to understand. It wasn't just Fredo and Youngboy going back and forth on tracks. Their actual crew members were beefing in the streets of Baton Rouge and beyond. And it wasn't rap beef. It was shoot first and deal with the consequences later type shit. That's just the beginning though, because in May 2019, this Baton Rouge war traveled to Miami, Florida, and it ended with a dead body that had nothing to do with either side. NBA Youngboy was in Miami to perform at Rolling Loud, one of the biggest hip-hop festivals in the country. He was outside the Trump International Beach Resort in Sunny Isles Beach with his entourage and his girlfriend. At some point, gunmen in a passing Cadillac Escalade opened fire on Youngboy and his people. Youngboy's girlfriend was shot in the shoulder. 3 innocent bystanders were hit. And then, when legally armed members of Youngboy's entourage returned fire, one of those bullets killed 43-year-old Mohammed Drady, a Hertz rental car employee who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. An innocent man is dead, and the trail of who sent those shooters leads right back to Baton Rouge. Investigators immediately started looking at the TBG camp. The East Baton Rouge District Attorney confirmed they were investigating connections to Baton Rouge rap feuds. Prosecutors would later write in court documents, once again, the motive and intent is retaliation against NBA by Edwards, a TBG member.
43-year-old Mohammed Drady shot dead in Sunny Isles Beach. An employee of Hertz rental car hit by a stray bullet as he sat in his van in a parking lot along Collins Avenue Sunday afternoon.
I heard the gunshots. Everybody went to the floor. I see people running. They were just running nowhere.
The bullets flew just outside the Trump International Beach Resort. Also piercing this black Suburban, witnesses say was carrying rapper NBA Youngboy.
My man NBA Youngboy in the building.
He didn't hit him, he hit the girl he was with.
Police say 19-year-old Kaylin Marie Long was shot inside that Suburban, but is expected to be okay. A 5-year-old boy across the street was also grazed by a bullet.
That Edwards they're talking about, Lit Yoshi, Mia Yoshi Edwards, Fredo Bang's associate and fellow TBG member. Lit Yoshi would eventually plead guilty to aggravated assault with a firearm in 2019 and attempted first-degree murder related to a July 4, 2020 shooting. He's currently serving 15 years in federal prison. Fredo Bang himself was arrested in Miami in 2021, booked on a parole violation after police found guns inside his house and a stolen car outside. But what happened next shocked everyone, because even with all of this, the shootings, the arrests, the federal investigations, neither TBG nor NBA Youngboy's camp slowed down. The body count in Baton Rouge kept rising, and the city kept watching two rap groups destroy each other and everyone around them. Now here's where people started connecting the dots more seriously, because while TBG was losing members to prison and to bullets, NBA Youngboy somehow kept stepping out of legal jeopardy like he had 9 lives. In September 2020, Youngboy, along with 16 other members of NBA and BBG, Bottom Boy Gorilla, NBA's allied crew, was arrested in Baton Rouge during a video shoot.
NBA Youngboy was arrested in 2020 during a music video shoot in Baton Rouge.
They were caught with guns, drugs, $47,000 in cash, and a $300,000 cashier's check. Federal charges followed. He was arrested again in Los Angeles in 2021 by federal agents. From March to October 2021, he sat in jail. Then he was released on bond and placed on house arrest from October 2021 all the way to March 2024. For over 3 years, this man was essentially locked down, and the streets were still moving in his name. Then in 2023, he faced 63 drug-related charges.
NBA Youngboy, known as Kentrell Galden, who has been under house arrest here in Utah and Weber County, pending federal trial. He was actually arrested here in Utah by the Cache County Sheriff's Office yesterday, suspected of running a large-scale prescription fraud ring. He's been charged with 63 counts.
He pleaded guilty in November 2024. The sentence? 23 months in prison, 60 months on probation.
Kentrell Galden, known by his stage name NBA Youngboy, now faces nearly 2 years in prison on federal charges.
And in April 2025, just 1 year before Cleles 5 was murdered, NBA Youngboy was officially released on probation. He went on to announce his Make America Slime Again tour, sold 500,000 tickets, grossed $70 million. The man came out of federal custody and immediately went back to being one of the biggest artists in the game. But the streets didn't stop, the history didn't stop, and the bodies didn't stop. And in December 2025, a YouTuber named Trap Lore Ross posted a nearly 2-hour video claiming he tracked 19 people allegedly connected to feuds involving NBA Youngboy's camp, going through Reddit threads, lyrics, and court documents. The names he listed included Boulevard Quick, G Money, Jiren Bang, True Bleeda, Sherwood Extendo, and multiple others. To be clear, none of those connections have been proven in a court of law. No charges, no convictions tying Youngboy personally to those deaths. But the internet went crazy, and people started asking a question they'd been thinking for years. How does one man's orbit produce this much violence and this many dead bodies? And now, fam, now we arrive at April 29th, 2026, yesterday, 12:15 p.m. Broad daylight, Gain God Fitness Gym, Greenwell Springs Road, Baton Rouge. Wes Clark, Cleles 5, is outside working out. Probably in the parking lot, maybe just finished a session, maybe warming up, doesn't matter, because 2 masked men rolled up and fired multiple shots into him. He was dead at the scene. They got into a waiting vehicle and disappeared. This ain't no game. This was a professional hit. 2 masked gunmen, a waiting car, a targeted victim. This was planned, coordinated, and executed in the middle of the afternoon at a public gym. The victim is 46 years old, the CEO of TBG. The man Fredo Bang credits with building his career and keeping G Money's legacy alive. And immediately, within hours, the hip-hop community started asking the same questions law enforcement is now asking, because you can't separate this murder from the history. You can't separate Wes Clark's death from the years-long war between TBG and NBA Youngboy's camp. The Baton Rouge Police Department confirmed it was a targeted attack, 2 masked suspects, a getaway vehicle, no arrests, no suspects publicly named, but they did say, and I want you to catch this, they said they see and feel that there is some association involving certain groups here in Baton Rouge. Certain groups in Baton Rouge. They said it. They didn't say which groups, but you already know. This city has been defined for the past decade by one conflict between one collective on each side. Now, does that mean NBA Youngboy personally ordered this hit? That is not what is being said. What is being said is that investigators are looking into group associations, meaning they are looking at whether this murder connects to the long-standing TBG versus NBA feud that has been simmering in Baton Rouge since 2017. And given that Youngboy is currently on federal probation, that investigation just became extremely serious for everyone in his orbit. But here's what really happened, and the street's been talking about this for years. The pattern is undeniable, gang. Let me lay it out for you clean. 2017, G Money, Fredo Bang's cousin, TBG's biggest star, gets killed. NBA Youngboy associate arrested, ultimately acquitted, case unsolved. 2018, an NBA Youngboy associate known as D-Dog is shot and killed after reportedly pulling up in Fredo Bang's neighborhood and threatening TBG. The war escalates. 2019, the Miami shooting at Rolling Loud. NBA Youngboy targeted. Innocent bystander Mohammed Dradi killed. TBG members Lit Yoshi and Fredo Bang investigated and eventually arrested. 2020, multiple shootings in Baton Rouge tied to the TBG versus NBA feud. Lit Yoshi charged with attempted murder on multiple counts. NBA Youngboy and 16 others arrested in Baton Rouge. 2021, Fredo Bang arrested in Miami. Lit Yoshi's bond revoked. FBI involved in investigation of TBG gang. Federal heat coming from multiple directions. 2022, NBA Youngboy and Fredo Bang shock everyone by squashing the beef publicly at a Christmas toy drive on December 24th. It seemed like the war was over. It seemed like Baton Rouge could breathe. 2025, Youngboy released from federal custody, back in the streets, back on tour, making music. The peace seemed to hold. April 29th, 2026, Cleles 5, TBG CEO, Fredo Bang's closest business partner, is gunned down in broad daylight in Baton Rouge by two masked men in a targeted attack. You tell me if that peace held, fam. Real recognize real, and the streets are reading this situation the same way. But wait, it gets worse. Because the whole reason people thought this war was dead was that Christmas Eve 2022 toy drive. That was supposed to be the moment. NBA Youngboy and Fredo Bang, two of Baton Rouge's biggest names, coming together for the community, handing out over 1,000 toys, bikes, coats, and shoes to kids. Fredo was there in person. Youngboy didn't show up physically, but was reportedly involved in organizing it. The optics were beautiful. The narrative the media ran with was two former enemies used their platforms for good. The beef is squashed. Baton Rouge can start healing. Some people like Tony Yayo even theorized that YB's reported $100 million deal with Motown played a role in him wanting to end the beef and focus on business. That he had something to lose by staying in it, and it made sense. When you got that much money on the line, the last thing you want is the feds connecting your name to more bodies. But here's the thing about street beefs. They don't end with handshakes and toy drives. The people under these rappers, the people who lost brothers and cousins and homies in this war, they don't just move on because two bosses shook hands on camera. The foot soldiers don't forget. The street-level grievances don't disappear. And when those masked men walked up on Cleles 5 outside that gym on Greenwell Springs Road, all that peace went out the window. Fredo Bang said it himself in his tribute. Without him, me and G Money's music would never have reached as far as it has. He mentioned G Money in the same breath. Because for TBG, everything keeps coming back to G Money. The cousin who was killed, the murder that was never officially solved, the wound that never healed. Here's the real tea on what this means for Kentrell Gaulden today. He is currently on federal probation. Let me be very specific about what that means. He is not a free man in the traditional sense. He has conditions. He has oversight. And if investigators develop any theory, any evidence that connects people in his camp to the murder of Wes Clark, the feds don't just look at the trigger man. They look at the organization. They look at the structure. They look at who benefited. That's how RICO cases are built. Now keep in mind, nobody has charged NBA Youngboy with anything related to this murder. No charges, no arrest. The investigation is literally just 1 day old as of today, May 1st, 2026. But when law enforcement in Baton Rouge says they see associations involving certain groups on the record, in connection with the execution-style murder of a top TBG figure, the entire NBA camp is now under a microscope at the absolute worst possible time. Youngboy just finished a tour that grossed $70 million. He's building what looks like the greatest commercial run of his career. He's on Motown. He's got album rollouts happening. He's got the culture in the palm of his hand right now. And now, A murder investigation connected to his decade-long street war drops 2 days before he's supposed to be focused on music? The timing is what it is. The history is what it is. The streets are connecting the dots, whether law enforcement confirms it or not. Now here's the detail in Fredo Bang's statement that I want y'all to lock in on, because it tells you everything about how TBG is receiving this and what might come next. He said, "He helped countless people around Baton Rouge, single mothers, promoters, and radio. Anyone who needed him, he was there." That's a eulogy. That's a man in grief. That's real. But look at what else he said. "Without him, me and G Money's music and a few more artists would never have reached as far as it has." He brought up G Money. In his tribute to Cleles 5, Fredo Bang brought up G Money. That is not an accident. That is Fredo Bang telling you, without saying it directly, that these two murders are connected in his mind, that the war that started with G Money in 2017 has not ended, that it just took his CEO. That's a man who is grieving and connecting history. And if you know street politics even a little bit, you understand what that combination of grief and history can produce. The question is not just who killed Cleles 5. The question is what happens next in a city where every major retaliation over the past decade has led to more funerals. Let me zoom out for a second because the culture needs to have this conversation honestly. Baton Rouge, Louisiana has produced some of the most talented rappers in the history of hip-hop. Boozy Badazz, Webby, Kevin Gates, NBA Youngboy, Fredo Bang, G Money. The city has real musical genius, but it also has a street ecosystem that has been devouring that same talent for decades. The TBG versus NBA war alone, since 2017, has resulted in multiple deaths, multiple federal cases, millions of dollars in legal fees, a 15-year prison sentence for Lit Yoshi, and now the murder of a 46-year-old CEO outside a gym. And I need to keep it 100 with y'all. The people dying in this beef are not just rap guys on the internet, they're real people. Wes Clark helped single mothers in Baton Rouge. He kept artists' music alive. He was 46 years old. He was at the gym. 2 masked men killed him over something that goes back to a rap beef that supposedly ended at a Christmas toy drive in 2022. Trap Lore Ross put out a 2-hour video in December 2025 claiming that 19 people have died connected to NBA Youngboy's feuds. Whether you believe every detail in that video or not, whether you think it's facts or speculation, the fact that it exists and the fact that people watched it and couldn't easily dismiss it tells you something. The body count associated with this particular corner of hip-hop is not normal, and the culture needs to reckon with that. The streets don't care about chart positions. The streets don't care about Motown deals or tour grosses or Billboard records. The streets have their own accounting. And right now, the streets are calculating what happened on Woodcrest Drive in Baton Rouge on April 29th and deciding what comes next. No arrests have been made. No suspects have been charged. The Baton Rouge Police Department is investigating. The East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner's Office has confirmed the victim is Wes Clark, 46 years old, 2 masked men, a getaway vehicle, a targeted hit in broad daylight at a public gym. Fredo Bang is mourning his CEO, his business partner, the man who helped build TBG into what it is. Cleles 5 is gone, and the same investigation that detectives are conducting right now is going to inevitably look at the one conflict that has defined Baton Rouge's rap world since 2017. The war between TBG and NBA Youngboy's camp. Is Youngboy responsible? That is for investigators to determine. What we know, what the record clearly shows, is that this beef has been violent, deadly, and ongoing since before most of the people commenting on it today even knew who Fredo Bang was. What we know is that investigators in Baton Rouge specifically mentioned group associations in connection with this murder on the same day it happened. What we know is that the piece that was supposedly made on Christmas Eve 2022 did not prevent 2 masked men from putting multiple bullets into a 46-year-old man outside a gym while he was working out. And what we know is that NBA Youngboy, currently on federal probation, currently in the middle of the biggest commercial run of his career, is now sitting at the intersection of all of this. Whether he wants to be or not, the investigation is open. The questions are louder than the answers right now. And Baton Rouge is once again holding its breath, waiting to see if this leads to more grief or to justice. Drop a comment below. What do y'all think really happened? Who sent those masked men to that gym? Because the street's already talking, and we'll be right here breaking it all down as this develops. Stay locked in, stay safe, and on every level, rest in peace to Wes Clark. Cleles 5, gone too soon.